and welcome. Sorry, a little bit later than usual. We had a few technical hitches. I think it's the heat. So good to see you on the Divorce TV show. And we've got a fascinating guest today who works with animals. She's an animal behaviourist, and she helps couples who are divorcing or splitting up to work out who's going to have custody of the pets. But first, we're just going to have a little bit of an update with the news. I'm going to start with an article, both The Sun and The Guardian ran with this. Elton John's ex-wife, Renata Blau, launches legal action against the singer. Now, the reason for the injunction application is unclear, but the approach is often taken in relation to privacy matters or to prevent publication of material. Blauer's lawyer confirmed she had filed the paperwork. He declined to expand on why she had felt the need to seek a High Court injunction against her ex-husband after decades of silence, but said she was hoping to resolve it amicably. In his autobiography, published last year, Elton John described his agony of his divorce from Blau and his struggle to accept his sexuality. He says, "I'd broken the heart of someone I loved and who loved me unconditionally, someone I couldn't fault in any way," he wrote. Despite all the pain, there was no acrimony involved at all. For years afterwards, whenever something happened to me, the press would turn up on her doorstep looking for her to dish the dirt, and she never ever has. In the book, he said he had very limited contact with Blau following the separation. "I saw her once after we divorced. When I had children, I invited her to Woodside, which is his home, because I wanted her to meet them. I wanted to see her. I wanted her to be part of our lives and us to be part of hers in some way," he wrote. "But she didn't want to, and I didn't push the issue. I have to respect how she feels." Now, to a very different story. In The Guardian, they're talking, the headline is "Divorce Isn't an Option. Afghan women find hope in saffron scheme." Now, Anita Zadid would divorce her husband if she could. 8 years into the marriage, her husband turned to opium and crystal meth because he couldn't find work. He's now addicted. Drug use is rampant in Afghanistan. Figures from the country's National Drug Use Survey in 2015 found that between 2.9 million and 3.6 million people could be addicted, roughly 1 in 10 in the nation of 37 million. In Zadid's village, a cluster of mud houses surrounded by green fields and fruit trees, wives of addicts have now started their own saffron production business with the help of a local initiative, hoping to earn enough to buy food and send their children to school. They can grow the saffron at home. Although divorce is not illegal, many women in the conservative village say it's just not possible for them. Instead, women have sought work opportunities and talked to each other about their difficulties. "I've been thinking about leaving him, but according to the law, this would mean that the children would remain with him," Zadid says, adding that if she were to separate, she'd never think of remarrying again. Dr. Nazir Ahmed Ghafouri, who runs the Rehabilitation Association and Agriculture Development for Afghanistan, the local group that helped the women set up their business, says many wives in rural communities are made to stay at home, which means they are unable to earn an income. "We've brought the jobs to their houses." Now, last story is set in Washington. From the Washington Post. The surreal anticlimax of getting divorced over video conference. This is a really nicely written blog post, a story article by Tiana Clark. Tiana is a poet, essayist and assistant professor at Southern Illinois University at Edwardsville. I just wanted to read you a couple of little bits from it. "It took 6 minutes to get divorced at my dining room table. My new ex-husband sat across from me, holding my left hand. Our cream French bulldog sniffed around for crumbs underfoot. 6 minutes to end an 8-year marriage. Poof, done, all conducted over video conferencing software called Cisco Jabber for the Third Circuit Court of Tennessee. After I closed my computer with a tiny click, my brand new ex-husband told me that he was glad he had married me and that he regretted nothing. I agreed and squeezed his hand. The contact felt like a novelty in such a touch-hungry time. We hugged, we fought, we made up. apologised and walked our dog. It almost felt like any other day, but now we belonged only to ourselves. It's a really nice article. I've posted it in the Best Way to Divorce Facebook group. You'll find it in there. Now we're getting ready to talk to our expert, Caris Nafte. I hope I probably pronounced that. Sorry, Caris, completely wrong. Animal behaviourist and pet custody consultant. Welcome, Caris. Thank you so much for coming onto the show.
Thank you, Susie. And you didn't do too bad with my name. That was great.
Hang on, I'm just going to find you. So I've got a preview of our lovely end meditation, but I've got you in now just to confuse everyone. You are the real Caris Nafte, and I did. Have I done that right, Nafte?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, you have. Yes.
Perfect. And I'm just going to move your little name badge so it's not in your way of your face. Perfect. You can't see it, but we can see we've got your name and what you do here in front of us. My first question now, Caris, is which pets do you work with when helping people with their custody battles?
Susie, I work with anything, but most of my work is with dogs and cats, and primarily with dogs. The issue of cats seems to be a little bit more resolvable, so people can often work that out themselves. But if they can't, then I come in and help. But dogs certainly, people need some guidance, and they need some help to figure out exactly who should keep the dog, as I say.
And I know a lot of people would just assume it would be 50-50 shared, co-dog parenting, co-custody.
Yes.
Does it always work out that way?
So Susie, this is something I write about quite often, and I try to educate people. So shared custody is becoming trendy. It's becoming common. People even write prenups about if we get divorced that the pet will be split 50-50. But the truth is, coming from my perspective as an animal behavior expert, it is not suitable for every dog. For some dogs, sort of an endless life of reunions and goodbyes is very stressful for them. So from my point of view, dogs have to be considered as dogs. They're not children. They're not furry children. I know we love them like children, but dogs don't, they're not children. They're dogs. And they're also not possessions. In many places, animals are considered possessions, and whoever bought the dog is the owner, in all kinds of horrible stories we've all heard. So if people do want to do shared custody with their dog, what I suggest that they do is that they agree between the separating couple that in 3 months or in 4 months, the situation has to be looked at, maybe with an outside expert pair of eyes, to see, is it really working for the dog? Because dogs will show their stress in a variety of ways, and usually ways that we call being naughty. People say, oh, I've got a bad dog, or my dog's not behaving well. And that means something's going on with the dog that needs to be addressed. Dogs just don't decide to be bad. That's not how it works. But they express their own stress in ways that we don't usually like. Dogs don't be stressed by lying down and being quiet. It usually goes the opposite.
And so that must be a difficult conversation to have with someone when you know that the best thing for the dog is not to be moved backwards and forwards between different households.
Yeah. So when people work with me, so I will come in to a divorce sort of situation as an outside expert. So people will bring me in to advise people. And if a dog is, for example, a rescue dog, or there's certain breeds, it's hard to be too specific about this conversation because every animal really is different, but it has to be looked at carefully. And what I do find with couples is that when they're willing to bring me into the conversation, they're usually open to hearing what I have to say. So it is hard often because there are times when, if we can sort of separate the human emotion from the dog behavior, the truth is it is better for the dog to live with only one person than to bounce back and forth. And then there's those moments that if you love your dog enough, sometimes you do have to let them go. And what I also tell people is, as hard as it is for us to say goodbye, it's much harder for people than dogs. Dogs are actually, they can say goodbye better than we can. So they don't normally pine the way we imagine them to. as long as the situation is sort of moved cleanly apart, I'll put it that way.
And are there animals affected by acrimony? So perhaps the couple haven't split yet. I mean, obviously we know children are, but are the pets also affected if things are going a bit nasty between the couple?
Absolutely. I mean, before I started doing my pet custody work, when I was just doing my animal behavior work and going to people's homes, people would call me for every reason you can think of. And the way I would articulate that to my clients is that dogs usually pick up whatever's unspoken in the house. So the issues that people aren't able to bring to the surface, or they're not conscious that they even need to bring it to the surface, the dog will almost channel that energy. And that might sound a little bit silly, but it's what happens. So yes, if the house is tense, people either will get too angry with the dog too quickly, or the dogs can just tell that something's off with the people, because dogs don't speak English. This is my favorite phrase, but they speak body language. They speak other languages. And that's, of course, what they pick up on. They don't do well in a stressed house. Definitely not.
And can you tell us a little bit more about how you got into this? What led you to be doing the work that you're doing?
Okay, so it was a really funny story. I mean, it happened gradually. I've been doing an animal behavior work for almost 25 years now, and I was seeing clients who were having dogs acting in difficult, tricky, bad ways. And the reason that the dogs were acting the way they were was that a bad custody decision had been made. So I was seeing a lot of dogs that were in a shared custody sort of arrangement, and the dogs couldn't handle it. Or something that happened quite often that I would see is, for example, if the dogs were to live with the wife or the ex-wife and who kept custody of the children, but after she got custody of the kid, she didn't actually have time to walk the dog. And so now the dog, who was used to going for runs every day, was sort of left in the backyard just because there wasn't enough time for him. So I started seeing this happen over and over and over. And my mom was a professional divorce mediator my whole life. So I grew up in this sort of space. And I was chatting to her a few years back, and I thought, nobody's actually getting in the front of it from an animal behavior point of view about how to help with the custody. So it almost just sort of arrived on my doorstep. I started seeing a need for it. And I thought, I'm going to get proactive with people so that there isn't the heartache to then have to make a tricky decision a few months later if something hasn't gone well.
I've just noticed in one of the comments that someone's put on the live stream, I'll keep my cat. Which is, but people do get very emotional about their animals. Do you find that on the whole the cat tends to stay with whoever's got the home, rather than move with the other members of the family? How does it work with cats normally?
Yeah, so cats generally, I mean, I'm prepared for the comments because people will disagree, but generally cats are more attached to spaces than people. So if they have grown up in a house and they're content there, as long as the house obviously is a happy one, and whoever's living in the house is happy to have the cat, that is usually okay. There are cats who are tremendously attached to people, but it's just not as common. So cats, for whatever reason, generally it is a little bit easier, but at the same time, there can be fights over cats as much as children. It really depends on the people separating and who's guiding them through the process. So yeah.
And what do the lawyers think? Because tell us where you are, because you practice internationally, but where do you live? And what kind of which lawyers have you come up against in the work that you've done?
So my story, I'm somewhat international. I'm American, but I live in South Africa, and I've been here for about 15 years. And I work all over the world on Skype. So I'm connected to lawyers in America and in the UK and various places. So the mediators and the attorneys that appreciate what I do, it's great, because if they're trying to avoid a prolonged, drawn out fight, then they will bring me in to clear it, to have that kind of insightful, peaceful conversation so that a decision can be made that everybody feels good about. Of course, if there are attorneys making money off of a prolonged divorce, they're not interested in talking to me because they want the fight to continue, for the reasons that we wouldn't want it to. So, I mean, I know people, I spoke to the one lawyer that I work with quite often, and she had a client that for 5 years, it was the dog. They, obviously there was more going on than the dog, but this was her. They refused to make a decision on the dog, and it got drawn out and drawn out. So normally I work with really wonderful mediators and attorneys who just say, right, let's spend some time with Karis, see what she says, and get some clarity on it.
And what's your advice for not just couples, but mediators about the timing of when you should be brought in?
So my best advice to anyone working in divorce, if there are pets involved, deal with the pets first. Because for some reason it tends to get left until last, because we think that the house is more important, and maintenance and the children and all of that. Of course, everything is important in divorce, but the emotion that pets carry, if it is left until the end of the negotiation, right, when everything's sort of, reaching that bottleneck of frustration or just emotion, the pets end up holding more weight than they might have if it had been dealt with initially. So that, if I can offer any advice to people, it's to start with the pets and resolve that.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Karis, for coming on, and I'm sure you've got lots of brilliant stories to share. So maybe we'll get you on again another time. And when this goes out fully online, once it's all rendered and sorted itself out, I'll tag you in. It'd be great for you to put some of your details down so people can contact you if they need to. Thanks so much. Great. And see you again soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Karis. That was fantastic. And now we are going to move forwards to the learnings. I've got my COVID hair at the moment. We're going to do a little bit of learning, and we're moving, still working on the particular new area of divorce first aid. So what we're talking about today is painkillers. There's a pain part of the divorce process, and what we're going to do is I can hear a little bit of clunking in the background. I have no idea where that's coming from, but it's not this end. So I think it's the whole Skype thing, is sometimes it brings in people. I don't even know if they're even there. I bet you it's my daughter Sydney. If she's listening, she needs to make sure she's 100% muted. So what we've got here is painkillers. Now this has got some serious bits to it, but I don't want to depress you, but we've got to be realistic about this journey. The frightening truth about the true pain of divorce and family breakup. That's what we're going to talk about here. And also suicide statistics and simple ways to support people going through divorce. William Shatner once said, "Divorce is probably as painful as death." One study by the National Institute of Healthcare Research indicates that divorced people are 3 times as likely to die by suicide as people who are married. And when a person is really feeling the pain of divorce, what they do not need, as you will know if you're in that situation yourself, are well-meaning friends and colleagues telling them to get a grip and pull themselves together. When the pain stage of divorce hits home, it's tougher than you can imagine if you've been lucky enough to never experience it. Getting through daily life feels like trying to juggle 5 balls in the air when you've just lost an arm, or walking a 10-mile hike when someone's run off with one of your legs. And the shock and anger have now passed, so that you have nothing to block out the pain, and you're really beginning to feel it. When I was running, I've just had a little message from my technical person. I hope everyone can hear me. Am I coming through loud and clear? I hope. When I was running, please send me a message if there's any issues with the sound. When I was running Starting Over show events in Surrey, I called up the local GPs and told them about the events which support people going through divorce, and asked them to share flyers for the events with patients who may be in need. And I'd say to the practice managers, don't give them Prozac, just send them to the Starting Over show. And they'd laugh, but they'd accept the flyers because they knew that this was a better option than dishing out drugs. Not one of the surgeries said no. Now, GPs are often the first people to know about a divorce, especially if someone is really struggling or feeling too ashamed or afraid to tell anyone. Now, in the States, 61.5% of fathers described worse mental health during the year post-separation. 24.2% consulted healthcare professionals more often than usual in the year prior to separation, and 47.9% did so in the year past, with GPs being the main health professionals consulted. Now, in 2010, dog whisperer Cesar Millan hit what he calls rock bottom after the death of his favourite dog and the end of his marriage to his wife. He opened up publicly about his struggle with depression after his divorce, even attempting suicide by overdosing on pills. Dr. Robert Littman, a USC psychiatrist with the Los Angeles Suicide Prevention Center, maintains that a divorced man is twice as likely to commit suicide as is a divorced woman. And it's not just the adults who feel the pain. In the UK, between 15,000 and 20,000 couples go to court to resolve child access disputes each year. In a divorce survey by Mishcon de Rare, a quarter of parents said the process traumatised their children so much that they self-harmed or were suicidal. So when you spot that a friend or work colleague or you yourself are in the pain stage of divorce, be gentle. Give yourself or them space. Certainly don't cross the street because you don't know what to say. Because I remember when I became suddenly single with 3 young children, all the dinner invites stopped. And other couples treated me like I was someone who was to be avoided, as if family breakup was somehow catching. What people really need at this stage is some nurturing time. Counsellors and coaches can be incredibly helpful in providing coping strategies. But what you can often offer that can be immense is just as simple as a hug, though at the moment it has to be one of those COVID virtual ones where you make eye contact and you hug. It actually works quite well, but you just need to give people some nurturing and a little bit of love, or just quietly listening can be so powerful. Avoid the temptation to try to take the pain away. You can't. Fever burns out a disease, killing off the root cause. In the same way, let a person, whether it's yourself or another, to let them do the suffering, if you like. Sometimes you just have to do the pain, rather than encouraging them to numb it with alcohol or drugs, or God forbid, encouraging them to start dating again before they're ready, which is in the long term will not be helpful. Be patient with them. In Canada, divorcee Rich Saunders killed himself on September the 28th, 2008, after he brought a lit barbecue into a bedroom and sealed the doors, window and air vents. Had the legal proceedings been less stressful and or had the measures taken by the authorities been more effective in reducing the stressful environment, then the outcome may well have been different. Provincial Court Judge McClargy said in the ensuing report. What made this tragedy even greater was that Saunders didn't just kill himself, but his 3-year-old son did along with him. I've got loads of messages coming in, which is really distracting me, and I have no idea what's going on. All I can see is what I've got here, and I hope you're just seeing me talking. So apologies if you're getting lots of other things happening and various sound effects coming in. So I'm going to read that again because actually it's really important. Had the legal proceedings been less stressful and or had the measures taken by the authorities been more effective in increasing... Oh, my face has gone blurry. That's quite weird. Here we go. This is a very exciting day for online. I'm going to try again. Sorry. Had the legal proceedings been less stressful and or had the measures taken by the authorities been more effective in reducing the stressful environment, then the outcome may well have been different, Provincial Court Judge McClargy said in the ensuing report. What made this tragedy even greater was that Saunders didn't just kill himself, but his 3-year-old son along with him. And the judge recognised that it was the horribleness of the divorce that had in many ways led to this situation. So when you sense that someone is really suffering, don't load them up with more balls to juggle, or suggest they, do something just to distract themselves. Be patient and let them do the pain in a supportive environment. Margaret Atwood once said, "A divorce is like an amputation. You survive it, but there's less of you." I'm going to move now into a shared story. Unfortunately, we were going to have a real person on, but unfortunately life overtook her and she wasn't able to come on. But I've pulled out of my archives a short interview I did with a lovely lady after my divorce best way to split retreat, and she said some really interesting things about that well-being, about nurturing, and she's, as you'll see, when she arrived, things weren't great for her at all. And sometimes it doesn't take a huge amount to really move someone into a better space. So hello, Rachel, and we're just having a quick chat. We've got a nice quiet room here because it's the end of the Best Way to Split retreat. We're the only two here, and I wanted to ask you how it was, because you were very lucky and blessed, in fact, to have, as I think so anyway, a free space thanks to sponsorship by Verity Unison Hickey from Tishaw's Law, Tishaw's Solicitors in Haywards Heath. So I wanted you to just let her and everyone else know why that was a good thing and whether you found it valuable to be at the event.
Thank you, Susie, and thank you, Verity. And I need to be louder.
Yes, you do.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone who made that possible for me to attend. I came in a very, very bad state of mind and very upset. And today I feel very optimistic about the coming hearing and how I'm going to approach the whole situation. I've met some really interesting people. I connected to very helpful practitioners as well. And the most important thing is that I got out of the deep emotional hole that I was just 2 days ago. And I'm looking forward to other similar events.
What kind of things did you do that you enjoyed the most or found most useful and interesting?
Generally everything, because there was a very wide variety of subject covered. For me specifically, because of the my underlying reasons of why I ended up in the situation that I was, I specifically found most useful the sessions which were related with emotions and underlying beliefs and how we end up in the situations that we end up because of how we grew up and how we behaved and how we eventually allowed things to unfold the way they did. Hence, I'm feeling quite positive now that by changing the way I behave from now on and my beliefs, the situation will be transformed for the best of everyone involved.
Were there any particular workshops? You may not remember everyone's names, but as best you can remember, what kind of things resonated most with you?
Well, going from the last one, specifically Francine's.
Francine Kay, yeah.
Yes. What else did we have before that?
Had Marion and Ruth who talked about
the boundaries. Yes, that was one of my weak points as well, where
you're not the only
I
one.
need to learn more about boundaries. And what else did we have?
Karen Marshall talking about. Karen's, which is talking about actually more about honouring yourself, and that you really got to. You can't change anything unless you really do work on yourself. And she talked a bit about that.
Specifically those. But anything that was to do with emotional stuff and the psychology behind life dramas, all of them. They were different, but each of them complemented one another.
Yeah, it kind of gelled really nicely, didn't it? What about we here in the morning when Michael from Families Need Fathers gave a very blunt, clear lucid talk.
But there were a few bits to do with the hearings and the
So you had a chat with him
procedures,
later,
and then I
didn't you?
had a chat with him that was very helpful as well.
Was it useful that a lot of people stayed for lunch and you were able to chat to the experts at various points?
Yes, that was helpful as well, because you get to have some personal time with people that I felt that I wanted to say something extra.
And how about this sort of sense of community? Because it's a very diverse group of people who didn't know each other,
Yes.
men and women, all in quite difficult situations, some of them. How did you find that?
Oh, that was very helpful as well, because there was people who came to me who felt related to my story, and I walked to some others that I felt related to, and we exchanged some helpful tips. So that was really good to be able to have that time as well to informally communicate with others.
Yeah, future ones we'd like to have a bit more of that actually, to get more, because there's so much learning to be had from each other that we want to allow more space for that for the next one.
Definitely.
So what would your message be to someone who's at any stage of whether it's divorce or issues over child contact, who might wonder why would you come away for a weekend and do something like this? What would be the benefits that you would say for them, to help them understand why it was so beneficial to the people who came?
Well, specifically for me, initially it looked like a long time, because I had so much that I had to deal with related to the preparation for the hearing, plus other paperwork that, since I've just moved to a new address a week ago, and I thought, no, I have so much to be sorting out. I can't take just 2 days away from my life to do that. And now I can certainly say that it was the best time invested, the last couple of days prior to the hearing, because it shifted not only my state of mind and being, but also I got to connect with people who can give me very practical help that if I hadn't attended, I would have been in a deeper stress, because I would have been left to deal by myself with things that I'm not familiar with. So these 2 days were just invaluable. And anybody who's in a similar state or situation, I highly recommend that they just jump and do it without even questioning. There will be gems for them.
Thank you very much, and we're very delighted that you came and joined us at the
Thank
weekend.
you, Susie.
Bye-bye. And hello, I've got a blurry face again. I think this is to do with the wonders of Skype, which for some reason is doing strange things with me here. Oh, that's it. If I come there, it seems to be back again. So, hello and welcome back. I hope you found that interesting. I loved it because I saw what a terrible state she was in when she arrived. She was so vulnerable, and in life, she was in a very difficult situation. And just by calmly listening, interacting, accessing experts, it really changed, not just in practical terms, but psychologically changed the space that she was in. So I thought that would be a useful one to share with you. I'm now going to get your phones ready. It is now time for QR codes. So once again, you can access these when you in the replay, of course. This is the Divorce Financial Workshop. We ran a fantastic one just recently. So this is the waiting list page, but get yourself on the waiting list and you'll be able to find out when the next ones are. Now that I'm running them online, although I do try to do it geographically, you obviously get massive amount out of it. If you don't physically live in that same area, you can still access it. At the moment I'm doing them in the UK. I would love to do some in the US. I just would like to get a collaboration going with a law firm that wants to promote their dispute resolution professionals, because that is a key aspect of the workshops. This is the Best Way to Divorce Facebook group, a free support group. Come on in and we'd love to see you. And this is a slightly more exclusive group. It's a smaller number. It's free for 30 days, and after that it's 15. One lady today, she said, oh, 50. I said, no, 15, 1-5, cheap as chips. But it's best way to get hold of me if you've got questions to ask. And lots of resources in there, lots of free resources, and it's just a little bit less busy, shall we say, than the Facebook one, because there's not 650 people in it like there is there. So I recommend you joining that and getting access to a lot of the free resources that are in there. Now get ready for the healing. I'm getting myself comfortable now. We've got a lovely lady coming in called Claire Morton. I'm going to play a little slide to ease us into it, and Claire, if she hasn't already unmuted herself, well, she'll do so now. And here we go. Here we go. My clicker's got hot in the heat and isn't behaving properly. Claire Morton, hello and welcome. Thank you so much. Got very short notice, wasn't it?
Yeah, no problem at all. It was a good job I had no plans for this weekend. I am detoxing and healing myself. So it was really nice of you to have me on. Yeah.
So that means you haven't had a glass of wine yet?
I haven't, no, which is a first in the last few months on a Friday night, because I've been enjoying it. So yeah, I'm going to see if I can last the weekend without.
Good for you. I'm going to have one straight after this. So when you're, but actually maybe not. Maybe the healing will put me in a different zone. This is one of my favourite parts of the show. I love these healings. It's a real treat. Before we get started, perhaps just tell us a little bit about you, about you, how you work. I know you're a yoga coach, but also what the healing is that you're going to be doing for us today.
Yeah, I'm Claire Morton and I'm a yoga coach. Left the corporate world 3.5 years ago to go and live my dream, become a yoga teacher and help people to discover their purpose in life. My main focus is on men, because I believe they need my help at this time. So I do a lot of under what we call it hypnosis, but it's guided meditation, and it's just about getting someone to leave the analytical mind, the mind that we live in our everyday lives, and going into the subconscious mind. So that's what I'll be doing tonight, just a nice, gentle, nice guided meditation to help relax and calm the body down, calm the mind down, and I'll start off with some like slow abdominal breathing, because we do forget how to breathe properly. We usually breathe into our chest, which is not the right way. We should be breathing into our abdomen. So I'll start off with that and then guide you through. And I don't know how much time do I have, because I normally will go really into it. So I know I've got to keep in flow with the show, haven't I?
Around 10 minutes we're good, only because I try to keep it all within about sort of 45 minutes in total. But yeah, and we started a little bit late today, but if you can do that, that would be great. But obviously, I don't want you to squash it too much. You want people to have a good experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So because I can go on forever, to be honest, once I get in the zone, but as the trainer and facilitator in me is still there, so I will keep to the time roughly. So I can start whenever you want me to.
Thank you, and when you finish, let me know and we'll say goodbye. But just to say up front, once the recordings are there on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, I'll tag you in, and it will be great to get you to give some links so people can find out more. So if you can do that for us, that would be lovely. So
that's perfect.
Take it
Thank
away.
you.
I'm ready.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so when we meditate, it's all about sitting up, so not lying down, because that's classed as yoga nidra and that's relaxation. So with meditation, you want to be sitting up straight with the spine straight, shoulders back, and then the crown of the head is straight in line with the spine, and then you are elevating through the crown of the head. So if you're in a seated position on a chair, that's fine. Just put your feet on the floor and cross your legs, putting the palms of your hands on your knees. If you wanted to sit on the floor on a cushion and cross-legged position, that's absolutely fine, but you can do it in a chair, that's fine too. So just raising and elevating the crown of the head, and then gently close the eyes or lower the gaze. And I want you to just start by breathing in through the tip of the nose And as you breathe in through the nose, allow the air to go right the way through the heart space and into the abdomen, and push the abdomen out so it inflates like a balloon. And then as you exhale, let the stomach come back in, and you're pushing the air back out through the nostrils. So throughout this practice, we will be breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. So just follow my instructions and listen to my voice. Breathing in through the nose, into the abdomen. Abdomen inflates like a balloon. And then as you breathe out, bringing the abdomen back in, and the air will come out through the tip of the nose. And just follow this pattern and allow your mind to wander. That's absolutely fine. So people think that meditation is all about clearing the mind. It's actually about focusing in on one thing. So I just want you to keep coming back to the breath every time your mind wanders. So whatever it comes, it wanders. A thought will come in, thought will come out. Just observe the thought. Detach yourself from the thought. You are not your thoughts. And then just keep coming back to the breath, coming in through the tip of the nose and then out through the tip of the nose. And with every inhalation, feeling the breath coming into the body. This is our vital life force energy. This keeps us alive, and we don't even think about it. So just focusing on the breath. And just notice how you feel, whether that's hot, whether you've got a headache, whether you're feeling happy, whether your heart is racing, whether you feel sad. Just notice how you feel. And we're not trying to judge, we're not trying to think anything of this. Just notice how you feel and allow yourself to feel like that. That's absolutely fine. And then just expanding the awareness, I want you to notice what you are hearing. Is there any prevalent sound in the room? And just notice. And then inhale. And I want you to just gently come back to your sense of sight, keeping the eyes closed. And what do you see? What do you notice? It could be dark, it could be light streaming through the eyelids. It could be colours or patterns. Just observe. And then I want you to come to your smell. What are any prevalent smells that you can smell right now? And just gently notice the air coming in through the tip of the nose and out through the tip of the nose. And just continue to breathe into the abdomen. And I'm going to bring you to the awareness of your sense of taste. What does your mouth taste like? Is it dry? Is it acidic? Can you taste the last meal or the last drink that you've had? Just notice, simply notice. I just want you to stack those senses upon each other. So notice how you feel, notice what you smell, notice what you see, notice what you taste, and notice what you touch. And just stack them on top, and we're just becoming aware of how we are in our bodies. And I want you to just breathe it in through the nose, into the abdomen, allow the abdomen to inflate, and then exhale, abdomen comes back in. And you can practice this breathing at any time to help bring the body back into balance. If you practice this breathing every day for 5 or 10 minutes, you'll notice how much better you feel, how much lighter, how much calmer. And you will feel so much better for it. And continue breathing in through the nose and out. And I want you to, as you breathe in, I want you to breathe in the word and the feeling of love. So breathing in love and breathing out forgiveness. Think of a person, somebody that you love. It could be a pet, it could be a person, it could even be food. Something that inspires the feeling of love, something that you really, really love. And I want you to inhale that feeling of love and let it fill every single cell of your body. And then as you breathe out, I want you to breathe out forgiveness. Breathing in love and breathing out forgiveness. And whether that forgiveness is to forgive yourself, whether it's to forgive others, because the more that you hold on to things and people, the more you are holding on for you, and it hurts. So when you let go and you surrender and you forgive, you will get your power back. You were reminded that your essence is divine, so let no one diminish you. When you feel totally serene and at peace, you are powerful, for no one can upset or influence you. Your angel guidance is to find your still, quiet center and heal your anger, purify your emotions, rely on your own judgment and take your own decisions. It serves your spiritual growth to take responsibility for your life, so stand on your own feet and be strong. True power is based on inner strength, self-worth and confidence. So make sure that you claim your power back today. You have to look after yourself for you to serve others. So just coming back to the breath, breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. And whenever you need to come back to this state, just remember to breathe in love, that person, that thing, that animal that you love so very much, and let that feeling of love inspire and charge every single cell of your body. And then as you exhale, exhale forgiveness. And then when you're ready, gently open your eyes, come back into the room and just notice how you feel. And thank you so much for joining me on a Friday night. I really appreciate it. Enjoy your evening all. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. And
Thank you, Susie. That was really nice.
yeah, it was lovely. I feel really calm now. And
Good.
hopefully we'll get you back on another time to do that. It was
Yeah.
lovely. Thank you.
Anytime. Thank you.
So we're now going to just the final words, the thought I want you to take forward into the week, whether it's your own family separation or whether it's one of someone you love or care for, or even just know at work. In the war of divorce, on the battlefield of family separation, always, always make peace your weapon of choice.